right, ladies and gentlemen, I believe that we are live.
All right, Pilot 1, starting out right out the
Pilot
gate.
1, baby, here we are. Hey everybody, welcome to the Temple of the Cynic.
Yeah.
I'm your host with the most, Nick, and this here's my co-host,
All
Kay.
right, I'm the co-host, Jay. I'll be joining you for every episode, probably bothering and annoying you as we go.
I mean, that's the job of any podcaster ever, is pretty much just annoy the audience to no end, so that way everyone is just kind of miserably learning about different shit.
Yeah, I don't know if learning is exactly our main goal here.
Learning.
Yeah, learn.
We do learning in the same sense that TLC is still technically the learning channel.
Is it? Really?
Yeah.
That's what that stands for?
Yeah.
Oh my god. What does TMZ stand for then?
I have no idea, but I assume that somewhere in there it's gotta have some sort of reference to, like, Mario Lopez. So,
You think so?
yeah.
Do you want to go over a brief summary of what we plan to go in the future, or what we plan to go over in the future?
So, basically, the show that we're starting up here, Temple of the Cynic, is going to be all about everything supernatural, spooky, and things that just kind of go bump in the night. So we want to cover everything from ghosts to random paranormal events to UFOs to cryptids to basically anything.
Time slips, alternate reality leaks, anything.
Absolutely. Yeah, and definitely going to cover some, like, occultism as well, because that's a hugely understudied topic.
Yeah, just mysteries in general from the past that don't exactly have any sort of explanation in modern day would be great as well.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And, like, I'm a huge history nerd, so anything historical, I'm just like, I got this, right?
I got this.
Yeah, so that'll be definitely a lot of fun. I'm really looking forward to, personally, like, getting into some of the more really obscure, like, occultism and definitely UFOs, because you know how much of an alien nerd I am. Like, my wallet is literally just, like, this trippy alien wallet.
Yeah, I'm here mostly for the ghost and supernatural aspects of it. Something that has been overly explored, but nobody actually offers a legitimate explanation to. They're just sort of like, well, we have a vague idea that ghosts exist, kind of.
Hence also the name. Like, you know, the reason that we both decided to go with Temple of the Cynic is we want to add, like, a scientific/cynical lens to unexplained phenomena and actually, like, get into, at least to what degree we can, the science behind it and, like, what's actually going on.
At least what we theorize is actually happening, because I mean a lot of the videos and evidence, quote unquote evidence, that you have,
It's all doctored shit from the internet, especially since video editing software has become so accessible and, like, so much easier to utilize.
Yeah, and most like paranormal videos, especially, are from like potato cameras from 2005 and before, which is interesting. Especially, you know, since we have 4K now, no ghost videos are in 4K.
Yeah, suddenly.
Yeah.
Like, it just doesn't fucking happen, and I'm just kind of like, I don't know about all that. Like, hauntings now are more like, you know, but the thing is like, hauntings are a lot like UFOs, and I think that this is, like, the perfect topic for, like, pilot, you know?
Yeah.
Because, like, literally every single time there's a UFO sighting, you never have a camera on you, you know? You don't have your cell phone where you can just, like, Snapchat live a fucking alien mothership coming down to, like, contact you. It's always when you're, like, separated from anything that can capture it. Same with ghosts.
Yeah. Unless you happen to be a teenager in 2004.
Right.
In which case you have your shitty flip phone.
Yeah, and you're just like, whoa, World Star. I don't even think World Star existed back then, did it?
God, I have no idea. I know World Star's been around for a long time.
World Star has been around. I think it was in the 90s, so...
I have no clue on World Star. I know that people have been shouting World Star in their videos since...
World Star?
Yeah.
I would totally World Star a UFO sighting too. Like, upload it specifically just to WorldStar and like let it go ahead and spread through the internet afterward, like not even by me, just by people who are willing to like rip it off of that site.
Oh yeah, and you know the first 4K video from inside of a UFO would be some blonde douchebag going, WorldStar!
Yeah.
Yeah. Holding the peace sign with a vape, you know?
It's just gonna be me ironically doing it, but then unironically proving that alien life exists. Like, that's my goal in life, honestly. So.
Yeah, but do you think that, like, any sort of intelligent race wouldn't have some counter for that? They're like,
absolutely.
Oh, no, he's an idiot who uploaded it to WorldStar. We don't have to do anything. No one's gonna fucking buy it.
Yeah. I mean, like, to be fair, and when you're looking for, like, you know, actual substantive evidence, WorldStar is usually the last place that you check. So if anything, that's like an excellent defense mechanism for aliens.
Maybe they set it up that way. They're like, oh yeah, this is gonna be mass spread, but no one's gonna fucking believe any of it.
No one's gonna believe it because it's clearly just some dude that's like completely baked and like, you know, setting up a fake set online.
Yeah, sure. You know, Bill let, you know, his whole body get captured, but it was posted to WorldStar, so we don't have to worry about it at all.
Man, those aliens are tricky. But yeah, like, literally, same phenomenon that kind of goes on. It's always, like, isolated. And that's what makes it so interesting to me, you know, is the fact that we never really get actual definitive evidence. And, like, people always say, well, there's, like, the Ghost Hunters show, and, like, not to be this cynical right out the gate, even though it is in the name and all, but, like, it's pretty much just the South Park episode where they're filming themselves pissing their own pants. And it's, like, that's your paranormal phenomenon going on.
Yeah, but you're also going to say that those people are obviously fishing for ratings just to keep it going and keep incomes for everybody.
You have to, because, like...
You're appealing to a network.
Yeah, you have to, man. Because there's no way... Like, podcasting, the cool thing about, like, what I did in the past and what we're going to be doing is the fact that, you know, even if I don't make money, I can still just keep doing it. Like, if nobody listens to this shit, which, you know... Thank God, that means that humanity has some hope for it, which is unlikely, but, you know.
Yeah, unfortunately, we are going to be, like, the largest channel in 2 days.
The largest podcast about shitty ghosts and aliens.
Joe Rogan, suck my dick.
Joe Rogan, suck my dick, Joe Rogan. Yeah, that'd be pretty sweet, but, you know, really what I'm looking forward to is the fact that we have at least some really, really good stories to, like, dig around in. Like, stuff like Skinwalker Ranch, where it's, like, there's actual documentation, actual pretty solid, crazy happenings going on in one specific location. You know, and, of course, we're going to get into, like, Roswell. We're definitely going to get into, like, pretty much any sort of famous haunting or alien sighting. I was thinking that we could actually go local with our first haunting and do the Crescent Hotel.
Yeah, I would be 100% down for that. Something I wanted to talk about, and we'll pitch this idea, like, behind the scenes later, is to each research independent things without talking to each other about it and bring it to the show. So that we could be like, hey, look, man, I have, like, a buttload of information on this, and it could be, like, your legitimate reaction to, like, all the information that I have presented, and then you could do that to me. But today, I was kind of hoping that we could get into more personal stories.
Oh, absolutely. That's pretty much what we're wanting to do. So we're going to get into, really, just, like, hauntings, UFO sightings. I personally have experienced some actual ghost sightings. I've experienced, I'd say, 2 aspects of, like, a ghost sighting / paranormal phenomena in general. The second one was definitely probably just sleep paralysis. But the first one actually kind of threw me through a loop. So I could definitely share that story.
I think we should take turns, because I've got 2 that I'd really love to share. The first one was, I was much younger, so I'm willing to say that was lack of sleep plus possibly being sick and on medication. And then the second one, I was much older, so I give that one heavy credibility. And there's a bunch of eyewitnesses who were there for it. Ooh. And there's a little bit of backup, what I have hard evidence for, which if I ever get that recording, I'm 100% down to post that.
Yeah, I remember the one that you're talking about now, but I think that our viewers are really going to enjoy it. Definitely looking forward to talking about that a little bit. So let's get into it.
Yeah, 100%. Do you want to start first, or do you want me to?
Yeah, sure. So, like, the first, and mine's kind of like the opposite of yours in the regard that I was a lot younger with the first one, whereas the second one, it had to be sleep paralysis. At least that's what I've convinced myself, so that way I don't go completely insane. I'm only just, like, mostly. So, basically, the first sighting that I ever had, I was in New Mexico. I believe it was Las Cruces we were living in at the time. And we had like a fairly like small home, but like it was pretty alright. Like pretty good place. It was the middle of the night and something compelled me just to like get up. I don't know what it was. I didn't hear anything or see anything. It just kind of got up in the middle of the night. So you do what all little dudes do when you get up in the middle of the night. You're going to get some water, and then I go out into the living room, and it's just like the entire living room, like specifically located like closer to the ceiling-ish, had this really strange green mist. And I was just like, what the hell is going on? Like,
yeah, like what's happening?
Yeah, so that was bizarre to start with. But then it just got like, it went from like a 2 to a 10 instantly. Because I was like, why is there all this mist in the house? Like, this doesn't make any sense. Why is it kind of green? And it was very faintly green is the thing. So it was like vaguely unnatural, you know?
Yeah, yeah.
But I actually started looking up at the ceiling because I noticed, like, you know, the mist concentrated closer to the ceiling, right?
Yeah.
So I looked up there, and then I just saw what at first I like couldn't make out at all.
Mm-hmm.
But
it was
later,
kind of a vague shape.
Yeah, just like a weird shape, and it was just like white and tattered is the way that I would describe it. Mm-hmm. Later on, I pretty much realized that it was actually gauze is the thing. So it was really weird and bizarre to see like just like this weird shape that was like flowing kind of. It was almost like windy.
Yeah. And
it was just basically gauze wrapped around the back of somebody's head because it literally just started slowly turning and turning and turning.
Oh, fuck that.
Until it turned about like 180. Oh,
go ahead.
Got some calls. Anyway.
Yeah. Sorry
Stop interrupting the podcast, Jace.
Yeah,
fucking pilot, you ruined it.
I ruined the pilot. Fire me. I quit. I'm leaving now.
Yeah, he's fired. It's just me now. You're all stuck with me.
Yeah, me and Nick's inner voice.
Yeah. Basically, it started like turning like 180, and I was like, what the hell is going on? And I like made it out barely, but it turns out that, you know, it was like a face, and it was half rotted off. Just man. From the get-go. And I couldn't look away from this thing because, you know, as a kid, you're, like, paralyzed with fear. Like, that's it. It's, like, game over, man. You just kind of end up, like, staring at it. And so that's pretty much what I did. And I remember just staring at it for an uncomfortably long amount of time until finally it started moving again once I could see the full rotted face, and it just unhinged its jaw.
Oh, fuck.
And it, like, stared right back at me, like, into the depth of my soul. So I was like, okay, we're not doing this anymore. And once it actually opened its mouth, that's when I ran back into my room, because it, like, you know, fight or flight response, I finally got to that stage.
Yeah. You probably were in that third stage where it's just freeze. Where
Yeah.
You just don't respond for a while.
That's definitely where I was at first, but I was like more perplexed by it than anything, which just like speaks to the fact that I naturally am missing that part of your brain where it's like self-preservation.
Well,
Which is also why, I think like eventually this was like gonna be a thing that I wanted to do, which is investigating the paranormal.
Yeah, your initial instinct was to just stand there and die, which is not great.
Yeah. I really want to know more about this, though. Like that's the thing. I've always been like a little too curious for most things. So,
yeah. That's not a great initial reaction to have at all.
Oh no, but I'd rather die and see some cool shit before I go out. Instead of just kind of
controversial opinion there. I'd rather not. I'd rather not die if I had a choice. But,
pussy.
Yeah. I don't fit in with the millennials.
Yeah, you totally don't, man. You're like way out of touch with our culture.
Yeah, but like, how can you be a true millennial and talk about suicide constantly and then wear a seatbelt like some kind of casual?
I mean, that's true.
Yeah.
I think if anything, millennial rednecks are the most on point.
Yeah.
They're like, all those sad country songs, like they can empathize with it, and they just go mudding in a Jeep without a seatbelt. So it's like they're ready to die. Like they're ready to throw down.
Oh yeah, 100%.
So what's your first story?
My first story is actually one we haven't talked about, or at least you and I haven't in our personal time. So I'm much younger at this point. I'm sitting around the age of 6 to 8, and I was horribly sick, like drugged up with the flu.
So you were about the same age I was when I had my first like weird sort of encounter.
Yeah, I'd say roughly. And you have to remember, this house, whenever you first came into it, the largest room was the living room. When you first came into it, you went down the hall a little ways, and on the right-hand side was the bedroom.
Right.
And the bedroom window is about 8 feet off the ground, outside. I slept right beside that window. Well, whenever I woke up in the middle of the night. I couldn't tell you what time it was. I remember it was lightly raining, like lightly misting, and I was chilled, like I couldn't hardly fucking function because I already had the flu and was drugged up in the middle of the night.
Cool.
Well, I woke up and I heard like knocking. It sounded like coming from the kitchen. So at first I thought, well, maybe this is just, or we lived in an old house, maybe it was just creaking or whatever. And I got up to use the restroom. And coming back through, I just felt this presence, like I wasn't supposed to go back into my bedroom. Well, whenever I went back into my bedroom, my cousin was sleeping in the bed, and he slept on the side that was away from the window. And I saw what I would describe as something that looks like me kind of now, but much leaner and more muscular. Chest all the way to the top of the head, standing, peering at the window over at my cousin. And whenever it looked at me, I remember seeing it for a second, and it just made eye contact with me. And it was this feeling of it's going to follow you forever, like since I wasn't supposed to see it in that instant. And I remember looking at it, and it put its hand on the window, and I heard like a rattle on the window. And I don't remember if I screamed or yelled or ran, but I remember the lights coming onto the room and being hysterical, and my cousin waking up, and my grandparents being all like stirred up. And I'm not sure if it was just a hallucination because I was super sick and drugged the fuck up at the age of 8.
I mean, it's always possible. That's like, part of like what we were talking about earlier. It's like part of the fun of the whole like paranormal, like I guess phenomena in general. Whether it's like ghosts or aliens, it's like there's always one side where you can rationalize it, but some cases are just so like damning with evidence. Like that's actually kind of, it's usually circumstantial. I guess you could put it in that context, but it's definitely like very thought-provoking at the very least, and that's the really cool shit.
To describe the figure that I saw, I'd say he was about 6 foot tall in overall. Not a super muscular build, but almost an average guy. Bright red beard, pale skin, and sort of a yellow jacket, sort of like you were expecting the rain, but in a spirit form. And like I said, our window was 8 foot above the ground, so for him to be standing like ledge height with it, he would have had to have been, 10 to 11 feet tall or levitating, whichever you want to fucking believe. And ever since that event, I would have a horrible looming feeling of death or impending doom outside the window, and I would have dreams of something staring at me from the edge of the woods.
Ooh.
Because 20 feet outside of my window was the beginning of a dense wood that nobody could get into. And
that's like the movie The Witch, like that new one.
Yeah.
That's fucking awesome, man.
I found out years after I moved away from that house, and my grandparents still live there. Found out years after that a hunter had died there, in the woods not too far from where we lived, and it was some sort of a hunting accident where he had gone out hunting and slipped and fell and broke his hip or something to that effect.
Which is what Dick Cheney at least says happens. So
yeah, it was pretty scary, because I always had that feeling of impending doom and being watched out there. And my cousin and grandparents still live out there, so fuck that.
That's really bizarre. Yeah, but I kind of gotta wonder, do you think that entity was the hunter, or do you think it's the malevolent force that might have caused the hunter to die in the first place?
See, the thing is whenever I think back at the actual person that I saw, I get this kind of comforting feeling, but whenever I think back to the dreams and the feeling that I have of from the woods, it was like I was being watched by a dark energy. And even to this day, I get out there and I'm I don't like that. Which ties into a story that my father had, because he slept outside on that land a lot when he was younger, and he dreamed of a woman in white who tempted him outside into the rain and then locked him out, because there was a storm cellar on that land right outside by the woods, and he walked outside, and the lock is inside of the storm cellar. So he walked out to try and see this entity, and then she vanished, and he tried to get back in, and it was locked from the inside. So he was stuck outside in the rain with no way to get back in. Which the similarities are just the rain for some reason. And I don't know how much I believe in that, because he was kind of methed up at the time, so who knows?
I mean, maybe it was just Bertha coming over you need to give me back my goddamn lawnmower. And then, yeah. His meth mind was it's a spooky ghost.
Oh no, it's a spooky ghost.
I'm not returning the goddamn lawnmower to no spooky ghosts. Okay?
All right, you mow your goddamn ghost lawn somewhere else.
That would be pretty great. I really wanted to see that go down now. But,
Dang it, Boomhauer. Yeah, it's really hard to say. And I got told that story by my father years later, afterwards, because I was telling this story to him, and he was like, "Oh, I have a story about that you were also involved in because you were a baby at the time."
Maybe it's just a generally haunted piece of property, and I guess so that kind of explains why you're more into the specifically ghosts and supernatural stuff, right?
Yeah. The idea of ghosts for some reason is way more appealing to me. Yeah.
See, I'm definitely in the aliens corner, so represent for my fellow ufologists, which mainly just includes men with NASA hats in their 30s who cry at 3 a.m. Which will be me in my mid-30s. So
all right, I'm feeling fucking targeted for some reason.
I'm feeling targeted. I'm still in my 20s, but I feel very targeted.
Yeah, you missed the only description of me was the NASA hat.
Yeah, anytime ufologists get brought up, it's just oh, this is a man who literally has nothing else to look forward to in life except meeting aliens. That's about it.
There is a 1 in 10 of them that are just lying about their credentials, and they have also stories.
Well, you see, I have printed a document that certifies my authority in this regard. And it's just that is a coupon for Wendy's, sir, and this is a Best Buy. I'm not sure what exactly you're looking for here.
You will take these credentials
Seriously.
Okay.
You are the worst interviewer ever.
Again, this is a Best Buy, sir. I'm afraid we're going to have to ask you to leave, and you are not going to take the Alienware laptop as well.
This is practically my property.
You see, this is evidence of the aliens. Alienware, aliens, it all adds up.
Do the math, I owe you nothing.
I owe you nothing, good sir. Look at my credentials. Yeah,
You printed that off here. I watched you type it up in Word.
UFOlogists are great, but yeah, like, I've always been more fascinated by aliens, I guess, because, like, I was, like, a huge science nerd as a kid. So, like, the prospect of life outside of just Earth is, like, just completely fascinating to me. And a lot of the evidence, I have to say, and I guess this is just my bias, like, jutting out, but a lot of the evidence for alien life I take, like, a lot more seriously, and I give a lot more credence to than evidence of, like, ghosts. But again, biases kind of make that happen.
I'm kind of the flipped. Whenever I see evidence for ghosts, I'm always super critical of it, only because I've had my own encounters, and whenever someone presents something that says, hey, here is evidence of it moving an object, here's evidence of it interacting in this way, and it doesn't at all corroborate or line up with something that I've experienced, I'm like, that just seems like you're pushing something for views,
right,
or, some sort of appeal.
Just attention in general.
Yeah. And if I don't have any sort of background for it, I'm like, that just kind of seems like BS that you're trying to get noticed for. Which I know is kind of ironic of me being like, hey, let me tell some ghost stories and talk about how other people's ghost stories are bullshit. But
yeah,
these are the only ones that I can say I am 100% sure have actually happened. Everyone else's, I'm just like, well, I'm going to judge you super harshly because I'm a purist.
Well, see, all of my interactions, like official interactions, quote unquote, with aliens have 100% of the time been night terrors or just dreams in general.
Mm-hmm.
And I know this for a fact because I know, like, consciously when I'm dreaming and when I'm actually awake, right?
Mm-hmm.
But my next story could very well be sleep paralysis, because I definitely felt more than awake, but it's kind of a fucked up story. So basically, long story short, I was involved with a lady, and she and I were doing some work out in Texas because that's basically what I was just doing at the time. And so I ended up actually going out to their old trailer because they live in the house now. Like, that's across the road from where the trailer's parked. So I had my own little casa. It was pretty chill. And, I'm just kind of hanging out there with the dog. I felt very safe. Even though it was like a terrible, terrible little trailer in Texas, like, I felt completely fine, at ease, Nothing crazy happening at all, especially at night. Like, it's just calm and nice. There's like a goat outside. That's about all the excitement that you get. And nothing's moving around, not seeing anything weird. And then I can't remember if it was the first or second week that I went out to work in Texas, but one of those weeks that I went out there, on some night, I guess it was like close to the end of my stay there,
Mm-hmm.
I literally woke up in the middle of the night and there's like a chair, and of course, you should never, ever, 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 ever do this, where you leave a fucking chair just sitting there facing the bed with nothing in it.
Oh, no, that's a fucking recipe for your imagination to fuck with you.
Oh, absolutely. And I think this is part of the reason why I'm like, it's probably sleep paralysis, but it felt like surreally, like, oh yeah, like, this is happening to me right now. So there's like an empty chair facing me. Wake up, chair's not empty anymore. In fact, it is fully fucking furnished by a person. And all I see is like, oh crap, there's like someone in here, but they're wearing this mask. And the mask I can only describe as like it was made out of like twisted brambles, essentially. So like almost like a tree version of like Obito from like Naruto or something, like where it was just like the one eye, but it was pitch black, and then the rest of it was just made out of like gnarled wood. And I was like, what's going on? And I was like, I realized that I couldn't move. I couldn't do anything. I was too fucking freaked out. And then, slowly but surely, the hooded figure, like, starts to slowly lift up the mask, and I'm like, oh fuck, here we go. And that was not only terrifying, but as they slowly lifted up the mask, it just became more and more real and obvious to me that, like, no, there's another person in here.
Yeah, it sunk in, like, oh, fuck.
Yeah, like, it finally hit me like a sack of fucking potatoes to the head, like...
Which is kind of a similar thing that happened when you were a kid. Like, it took a while for it to fucking sink in.
It did. I swear to God, like, that thing where everyone else, most, I guess, like, neurotypical people, if I want to be all PC about it, it just means that I'm crazy and other people aren't. Like, most normal people have that little instinct that's like, hey, this is actually insanely fucking dangerous. It doesn't exist for me. I'm just kind of like, this is kind of cool. And everyone else is like, you're gonna fucking die. Like, get out of there. And my brain is like, but what if we watch, though? So,
yeah.
It sinks in, and then they basically lift the mask off, right?
Yeah.
And it's like this really old, insane, ugly woman.
Damn.
Who's like just sitting there and then like staring intensely at me, and super realistic. And then she starts laughing. And I'm like, haha, I'm in danger. And after a while, she starts speaking in this language. I swear it could have been like fucking Aramaic for all I know.
Yeah.
Something just completely indecipherable. But it was like I knew the intent behind what she was saying.
Like, you get the basic concepts, but not the direct meanings of everything.
Not the actual thing. And, like, you know me, I've loved studying languages, so even at my most scared at this point, I was still kind of fascinated. I was like, ooh, what language is that? I'm gonna die, but I want to know.
I'm curious.
Like, what roots does it have? So, that starts happening to me, and as soon as I, like, start hearing them talk, I got this overwhelming urge, or not even urge, but sense, I suppose, that basically they were trying to give some sort of spell or incantation, or even just, like, I guess like power word, however you really want to put it, over me. And the intent was the most sheer and unabashed malice and evil that you could possibly ever feel. Like, the emotion that I felt was more intense than any emotion that I've ever personally had. Like, you felt it on that surreal level. And I think that was, of course, part of, like, the quote-unquote spell, or at least that's how my brain was interpreting this sleep paralysis, because I couldn't move the entire time. And then once they started speaking that weird language, I was like, oh, they're trying to hurt me, like, desperately badly.
Yeah, I can't imagine. I mean, I
was in a shitty trailer in the middle of Texas, and no one could hear me scream because I screamed my head off after that started happening. And then eventually I woke up again, I looked around the room, and no one there.
Oh, fuck that. I always, and I don't know if this is just something that, like, happened whenever I moved in with my parents or whenever I moved in with my mother, but anytime something represents any form of aggression or malice towards me, I always respond back with aggression. Like, just how I respond, I can't imagine being in that situation where someone else was just in my room all of a sudden that I wasn't aware of. I imagine that I would have, like, jumped up or screamed or had some sort of violent fucking outburst.
Yeah, no, I definitely did, but it came almost like as an afterthought because it was just too late. And my deal is like the reason I think it's probably just sleep paralysis. A, couldn't move. B, there's a lot of stories, and we'll definitely cover the concept of sleep paralysis like throughout the show, because undoubtedly it's like responsible for a lot of different sightings of a lot of different things. Huge legend about basically incubi, succubi, all of those different kinds of things are just really symptoms of sleep paralysis. So you do often see figures during sleep paralysis. So that's why I'm like, it's probably that.
I also have to wonder how much of that is, like, especially in the older times when Christianity was really taking off, it was like suppressed your sexual urges. Like, how much of that was what you'd call like a wet dream nowadays? Because
yeah, definitely.
When you neglect that can happen, especially whenever you're suppressing those sexual urges for so long. So I wonder if like a lot of the succubi theories comes from that.
Yeah, that or like, the priest accidentally knocks somebody up and they're like, oh, they're actually a demon. Yeah.
Yeah, demon baby. We gotta drown it.
That's how that works.
Yeah. Probably kill the woman too. She's lying possessed by the devil.
What you do is you you tie a sack of rocks to her, and then if she sinks, she's not a witch. But if she floats, she is a witch. So then you burn them.
Yeah. And then you just don't put any rocks in the bag, so she floats and they kill her.
There you go.
Yeah, I mean, solid plan if you're a priest at the time.
I mean, they really had so many get out of jail free cards that it's kind of ridiculous.
Only medieval plague doctors had more, maybe.
Yeah, they were like, your humors are imbalanced. Take cocaine about it. And it was like, okay, I'm totally down with that.
There were demons in your neck, so I cut your head off, and I cured the demons, but now your soul's in heaven, so everything's fine.
Yeah, that's exactly how that works.
And it was like, no, that's not exactly what TB is at all,
Practice of bloodletting was like a real thing.
Yeah.
It's kind of crazy, but I don't know. We're a little off center.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah.
Let's go with your second story then.
Okay.
Be fun.
My second story comes in the summer of 2008. At this point, I'm 13 years old. I'm considering moving in with my mother from living with my grandparents. Now, we did a trial period for about 2 weeks before I ended up moving in with my mother. And she had this house. And when you came into this house, you came in kind of through the side. Your living room was on the right. There was a hallway on your left. 2 bedrooms on the left in the hallway. And a bedroom on the right at the end. And a bathroom sort of in between all 3. So you could access it from any room.
Right.
Well, nighttime hits. And I've been there a couple of days at this point. And what is that book that's also a movie with Pony Boy and...
You mean, God,
it's not The Outsiders. Is
yeah, it is.
Oh, it is The
It's
Outsiders?
gotta be.
Yeah, so we went to
It's
sleep...
like the Greasers and
Yeah,
whoever the
yeah.
jock equivalent was.
Yeah, of the 50s or 40s.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's The Outsiders.
Yeah. Well, we ended up...
Jamie, pull that up.
Yeah, Jamie, pull that up. Get on that shit, Jamie.
Jamie, pull that up.
Well, we went to the furthest bedroom on the right, which was the only one. It was all the way at the end of the hall. It was also the biggest. So it was me, my mom, and my brother. I slept on a bed that was about a twin-sized. She slept on a queen-size. My brother was a small child at the time, and so he slept up there. And The Outsiders was on. I wake up. I don't know what time it is at this point.
Yeah, it is The Outsiders. I confirmed it. I Jamied it.
Thank you, Jamie. Thank you for
Thank you.
being both host and Jamie. So
yeah, it's pretty cool.
I hear a knock on the door of the bedroom, which it's got to be around 2, 3, 4, somewhere in that area, which I'm not fucking cool with. And as always, I respond with aggression, and I'm like, what the fuck? Who's knocking on the goddamn door at 2 in the fucking morning? And I tell them to fuck off, basically, because I'm not dealing with that shit. And they're like, hey, come to the kitchen. And I was like, I'm not fucking coming to the kitchen. Hey, it's your Uncle Mike. Come to the kitchen. My Uncle Mike was staying there that night, and he's super Southern, but this sounded like somebody faking a Southern accent.
Ooh, I don't trust like that.
Yeah, I mean, he is...
Real Southern people, like, don't give a shit.
Yeah.
You put enough, like, liquor in me, you can tell that I'm, like, I've lived in Texas a little bit too long. Like,
yeah.
So, you know, like, I could only imagine, like, if it sounds like somebody's faking it, there's something real off.
Yeah. Mike, my real Uncle Mike, he sounds like a really toned down Dale Gribble. Like,
nice.
Yeah. But it's natural and it comes out super, super easy. This sounded like somebody who did not have an accent.
Trying their best.
Yeah, trying their damnedest to emulate it.
Like a New York drama student.
Yeah, almost exactly. But I didn't think about that too much at the time because, like I said, it was super early, and I just took it for what the fuck it was. I thought it was my uncle trying to lure me into the kitchen for some fucking reason. Welcome to Arkansas. But,
hey, y'all.
Anyway.
As long as you're white, it's all right.
Yeah. So that happens, and I'm like, all right, I'm not doing that. And I lay back down, and I don't get back to sleep, and the door starts, like, rattling, like someone's trying to open it. And I'm like, okay, well, this is got to be fucking over with. So I go to the door again, and I'm like, look, I'm not helping you. And he's like, you need to pick up a knife in the kitchen, and we have to make a cake. And I was like, why the fuck are we making a cake at 3 in the morning? And he's like, it doesn't matter, just pick up a knife. We've got to make a cake in the kitchen. Hurry up, the light's on. I'm waiting for you. And at that point, I was like, no, I'm not doing that. So this is the second time I tried to lay back down. I was like, dude, I'm not doing that. Fuck that. And this time the door rattles, and I don't wait for a response. I just kind of react with aggression at that point, because fuck this guy. And I opened the door, and I was like, dude, I am not making a fucking cake with you at 2:30, 3, 4 in the morning, whatever time it was. You can go fuck yourself. And I hear a voice in the hallway, which there's no light. It's dark as shit in this house. Because the windows are all on the rooms and not in the hallway. So if you're in the hallway, you can't see shit. And he's like, well, you just need to come to the kitchen and bring a knife. And I was like, bring a knife or pick up a knife in the kitchen? And he never responded. So I was like, all right, fuck this. And I went across the hallway into another room where another one of my uncles, whose name is Cody, was sleeping in that room. And I go in there, and he's passed out on the bed. Mr. Lonely is playing. There's a blue light on. And I'm like, okay, well, I close the door, and I lock it, kind of trying to, like...
That's, like, the ending to a 2-hour masturbation session. You got
Yeah.
Mr. Lonely playing, and there's a blue light. You're just passed out with your hand down your pants.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I pass out in that room, right? And I'm like, all right, cool. So I get up that next morning, and I get up, and I fucking make breakfast or whatever, and I see my Uncle Mike, coming in. He pulls in, and he comes in, and he starts eating, and I was like, hey, dude, what the fuck was the deal with last night? Why the fuck are you blah, 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 blah? And he's like, I work night shift at a factory, and he wasn't home all that night. And I was like, bullshit. And I told him exactly what I just said there. And my aunt, who was staying with us at the time as well, was like, yeah, no, that's not what happened. I got up, and she says that she woke up. I can't remember what time it was, because like I said, this was 2008. So it's been like fucking almost, it's been more than 10 years.
Yeah,
it's been 11 years.
It's been a hell of a long time.
So I can't remember. But she said that she woke up like to the minute, the exact same time that I woke up. And that she went in the halls, and when she went to the halls, she heard like rattling, and she was like, she thought somebody else had gotten up to use the restroom, and so she got up, used the restroom, and she closed the door, and she got up, and all of the doors were open, and there was no music playing, all the lights were off, and that I was standing in the hallway just looking down the hallways at her blankly, not saying anything, and then I went back into my mother's bedroom and closed the door. And I was like, well, I never fucking came out of my mother's bedroom except for whenever I went into the room across the hallway. She argued with me about that for a while, and I was like, that just didn't happen. That, you know, I was fully awake at that point. And she's like, well, okay, well, I went down. I went, and she said that she went into the kitchen. This is my favorite part of the story, is that she went into the kitchen and came back out and went to bed and went down the hallway. And whenever she went down to the hallway, the light was on in my mom's room on the right-hand side of the bedroom, and that the door on the left-hand side was completely open and all the lights were off. There was no blue overlight. There was no music playing, but the door was open, which I know at that point that not only was the light off in my mom's bedroom, but I'd closed the door when I left. I went into the bedroom across the hall, closed, locked the door. A blue light was on and Mr. Lonely was playing because I was awake still. And then she says she went to sleep and she never heard any voices or anything like that. She never heard me interacting with anybody. Well, the next day, I tell everyone that, and I'm arguing with Mike about it, and he's like, no, I wasn't home. Which is fact. Like, he's spitting facts at me, and I can't fucking argue that. Well, Cody, the uncle that was asleep in the room across from me, says, okay, well, to shut you up, we will take my phone. Like, he had a flip phone at the time. I think he had a Razor, actually. And we went around the house recording, and it was like, are you here? Is there a present here? Blah, 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 blah. And we went into his room, and we asked questions for like a minute, I think, and we didn't hear anything on initial recording, and then we started playing different like back, and I think we got to like the fourth one, and we got to the recording where he was in the room, when we were in the room, and we were like, is anyone here with us? And like as clear as day, as clear as this recording is, we heard, my name is Mike, I am here. Like, as clear as fucking day. And he still has the recording to this fucking day. So I'm going to have to hit him up and be like...
Yeah, if we can get that on air, like, we need to have that. Yeah. That would be fucking amazing, honestly. Yeah. Just to, like, prove, like, hey, you know... like, because that's the thing. It could always be easily explained... because our minds are amazing at pattern recognition. It's like an evolutionary facet that got like stuck when we went ahead and decided to start growing things out of the ground and actually, you know, creating a society, quote unquote.
Yeah.
We still have that knack for pattern recognition, which can really, really mess you up in terms of just having like, you know, not really hallucinations.
Yeah, but so like hearing things and trying to make sense of them.
Yeah, exactly. So that's definitely a thing. But if you can get like a clear audio recording of something like that happening, that's a 1 in a million shot right there.
Yeah,
like that's on par with some of the hauntings that I know that we're gonna cover in the future.
Yeah, I'm definitely hoping at least probably sometime next year I'd shoot for we can go out and explore the Crescent Hotel.
Oh, absolutely. We're going to have to, like, not only will we, like, cover it, but we'll have to do, like, some kind of stream where we got, like, GoPros or something, and we're just, like, digging around in that hotel.
My plan for that is I want to get, like, full night stay somewhere. Like, just stay in the Crescent for a night, at least.
Do you think that, like, the ghosts will appreciate the fact that I'm incredibly goth when I go there?
I don't know exactly, because...
would they be, like, offended, or would they be like, oh, this kid gets it?
I've heard a lot of different things about the Crescent ghosts. My mother has a story about it, but I was never allowed to go, so it's kind of hard to, like, kind of hard for me to say anything about it.
Right.
Yeah.
Kind of shit freaks people out, man. Like,
yeah.
They can't handle it. Honestly, that story's pretty... like, that story's... I remember I was, like, super rattled by it the first time that you told it. So it was like, oh, man, that's right. Jay's going to tell that one. And every time I hear it, I'm just like, if we can get, like, our hand on that audio recording, like, man, that would be something else, man.
Oh, yeah. I'm definitely going to ask him, because I know he still has it. He still has the phone, at least. We may have to fucking pick up a charger for it and then find a way to like
Dude,
email
this
me
is
that.
real ghost hunting.
Yeah.
We're like the actual ghost hunters.
Yeah, and like email that shit to myself if at all possible.
Oh, that'd be great. Yeah.
But also, he also just went through a move, so we might have to dig through some shit.
I'm more than willing to do that. If we can get, like, actual pretty hard evidence, and granted, of course, like, the audience is going to have to kind of take our word for it at least halfway. Yeah. But, like, man, that would just be something else, though.
Well, like, what I thought was great about it is because the whole reason we did the recordings was for him to shut me up, because I was going on for, like, an hour. About how fucking shook and fucked up I was about it.
You're just sitting there like, hey, did you hear that shit?
Yeah.
Like, yeah, that's kind of an issue.
And, I mean, he did argue some things about what my aunt was saying, because he was like, no, I did have a blue light going. I had music going on pretty loudly. And she was like, no, the door was open and the lights were off. And...
I remember because it was the saddest orgasm I had in a very long time.
Yeah. I mean... But he was like, at the same time, he was kind of like, well, I want to shut this kid up, because, I mean, I was, 12, 13, and he's like, I kind of want to shut this kid up and just do these recordings and get it out of the way so that he'll stop whining about this the next day. And then we caught that, and I heard it, he heard it, everyone in the family heard it, and my Uncle Mike, who actually, like, whatever he heard it, he was like, I don't appreciate...
Whose grave did, like, your grandpa piss on to, like, have all this supernatural activity happen to you guys?
I don't know. See, that's... But something that is fucked up is that after I told that story, Steven came back, like, a few days later, and... Because he was a truck driver. He was over-the-road truck driving, Mm-hmm. And he came back a few days later, and I was like, hey, what's going on? Well, and I didn't even think about it, And he was like, well, I'm kind of not super stoked about sleeping in the house again, because he got freaked out by something that happened before. And I was like, what the fuck happened? Because to freak Steven out, you have to be a goddamn gorilla, basically. Because Steven is 6'5", 350 pounds.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
so
like...
He'll just mow over you. He doesn't even have to actually fight you. He just kind of pushes his way into, like, okay, you're on the floor. I'm done.
Yeah, and he doesn't give a shit about hardly anything, so... And he's also, like, a motorcycle and an OTR trucker. So, whatever. Motorcycle enthusiast, OTR trucker, whatever. And he's like, well, last time I was here... he, like, woke up and he had to use the restroom, which is down the hall, because he was sleeping in the same room I was. He had to use the restroom. He got up, and then he got this, like, urge, or felt like he needed to check the house out, just do, like, a perimeter sweep or whatever. And he got out, and he said he went to the living room, and when he turned the light on to the living room, he saw someone standing there who was about a head and a shoulders taller than he was.
Jesus.
Standing outside of the sliding glass door.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
Oh, no. That's when I strip naked and then start banging pots and pans together, because that's, like, my last defense mechanism. Like, my break-in plan is, like, anyone breaks into my fucking apartment, I'm naked before they see me. And I grab my katana, the only one that's, like, sharp enough to actually do anything to anybody. And I just charge at them naked with this katana, and I hope to God that weirds them out or freaks them out enough that they're just like, I'm not stealing your shit anymore. Like, I'm done. This is too much effort.
But, like, weirdly enough, from his telling of it, and this is my recollection of his telling, so something, his details may be different. But he froze because he didn't know what the fuck to do. Like,
right. I mean, yeah, shit, I would too. It's like, is that Shaquille O'Neal?
Yeah. Why is Shaq breaking into my fucking house?
I was here to tell you about Icy Hot, a new product line, Ghost Icy Hot.
Hey, LeBron James' cranberry Sprite's not doing so great, so they hired me to help out.
They just hire a demon.
Yeah.
It's like, just let me market the fucking shit. Like, no one's gonna drink this, let's be honest. But, you know, you're gonna get social media clout or whatever you kids are calling it. So just buy the product.
Yeah, that's great. But, so, whenever he told me that, I was like, oh, I'm so fucking glad I didn't walk into the kitchen that night, because in order to get to the kitchen, you have to walk by that door. And if I had seen that sliding glass door, I would have shit, pissed, and died.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah, just all three at once.
If a 7.5 or 7 foot tall fucking demon was standing there, I'd be like, nope, and just died.
Yeah, just... Does that, like, automatically exonerate you and you just get to go to heaven just because that's, like, so sudden like that?
I don't know. I don't make the rules.
Yeah, me neither.
Yeah.
I want to meet the guy who does. Give him a strongly worded letter, like I'm at a fucking DMV.
Yeah. I'd like to... It would suck if you died and had to argue your case every time.
But, like, technically you kind of do, don't you? Because, like... Well, at least according to, like, I don't want to say mythos, but according to the Christian ideal, it's like St. Peter's just sitting there and he's like,
why'd you do this?
Yeah, well, I saw you pick your nose and wipe it on your sister one time. You're like, you're right.
But, like, I was 3, so do I really have to defend that?
To hell. But, yeah. No, like... I couldn't even imagine. Like,
yeah.
Something that big.
Yeah, that's...
Outside of your fucking house.
Yeah, like, looking in. And that's... When he told that to me, like, it was the only... He was... He's such a, like, a distant person. Like, he doesn't speak about emotions and stuff like that. Very, very what you think of whenever you think of, like, biker or trucker, you know. Whenever he told it to me, it was such a matter of fact. He was like, this is how it happened. Take it for what it is. And I was like, all right, but is there any possibility that was like a light source behind you and it was your shadow? Like, because in order for something to be that fucking big, it either had to be not real or like fucking a demon. Like,
yeah,
which I'm skeptical.
Yeah, I definitely at some point for this show, I definitely want to get into demonology. Like, I'm sure that'll probably come, like, before or directly after Satanism as a subject, too. Because, like, you know how badly I've wanted to cover that subject. Like, I've been literally just...
Foaming at the mouth. Since,
just like, let me talk about how cool / dorky Satanism is. Like... Because it's just so fucking funny, like modern Satanism, but like the old actual deistic Satanism is like really fucking metal.
Yeah.
So like that's where we'll get into like actual demonology and all that. But outside of that, what I've been really fascinated with like lately is just kind of like some weird aspects of demonology outside of the popular Catholic understanding of demonology.
Yeah.
So like more Wiccan sorts of implementations of various like, you know, sub-deities and all that good stuff. Like that kind of thing is really fascinating to me.
Oh yeah, 100%. I even like, something I really loved is, you mentioned the Catholic understanding of it. I love to look over just that, like gloss over that as a micro subject to touch on, because there's a lot of like
Catholics just went fucking hog wild after a while because people started getting bored going to the same goddamn church all the time. So somebody was like, oh, there's an owl man and he's the demon of learning things, so don't learn things.
Yeah, it does feel like that a lot. And then there's a demon who the only reason that he's a demon and in hell is because when God and Satan decided to go to war, he was like, I don't actually want to get involved with that, if that's cool.
Can I just, like, not.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like that scene in Always Sunny where it's just freaking Dennis sitting out and he's just eating cake and he's like, Dennis, why are you over there? And he's like, I'm eating because I'm very uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Like, that was just this angel, and then God's like, you're a dick for sitting this out.
Yeah. Well, God, like, straight up told, he's like, look, you either pick my side or you pick Satan's, and this angel was like, nah.
No, I don't want to get involved with this.
I looked into it, and both sides, I don't agree.
See, this is why St. Peter is sending me to hell specifically, is just my indecision.
Yeah.
It's like, I don't really want. I don't like that. Like, I don't want to get involved. And they're like, well, to hell it is.
Yeah. So God was like, well, you don't want to make a decision? I'm going to transform you into sloth, and you're going to go to hell. And then he went to hell, and funnily enough, there's a story about Satan telling him to command, like, so many, a legion of demons, and he was like, no. Which I think is my favorite fucking, like...
That's the best response that you can possibly give. Think about it. You've been, like, banished to, like, this place of eternal torment. And then, like, your freaking shift manager comes in and he's like, I need these reports by Friday. And you're just like, I'll get to it on Monday.
Yeah. I'll actually maybe not ever.
Probably not at all, if I'm being honest. And then your shift manager just kind of goes, okay, fair enough. Like,
yeah, like,
what a fucking baller.
We're fucking here forever. Like, his whole argument is like, I'm here forever. I don't have to listen to you.
Yeah.
What are you going to do? Put me in another pit forever?
Oh, no.
Yeah.
It literally can't get worse. It's hell.
Yeah.
But yeah, getting a little bit more on track. Is there anything that, like, we haven't covered yet that you want to, like, go over?
Did you want to touch on any alien experiences since we're here?
I mean, we'll have to, like I said earlier, like, we're definitely going to do it, like, episode by episode, taking it, like, either a sighting or something, like, huge and crazy, like Skinwalker Ranch is probably going to have to be, like, a 2 to 3 parter. But basically any of those, we're definitely just going to delegate episode by episode. I think, what do you think? Like, do you want to go, like, super intense with it, or do you want to go good old classic Roswell, like, to start off with?
I don't think we should start off with Roswell. I feel like it's kind of overdone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I get that.
I feel like we should let that bacon cool.
The actual story of Roswell is actually far more fascinating than the sorry other UFO people, but fake fucking landing. Okay, it wasn't real. It was a goddamn Air Force plane. I'm sorry, but it's just not.
Yeah, you think the government wouldn't put so much emphasis on it if it was real?
Oh, like, yeah, no. They keep the real shit, like, cool down.
Yeah. They're like, oh, fuck, here's some pretty lights in the sky that humans haven't seen before. Look over there. And where they're smuggling, extraterrestrial bodies somewhere else.
There's a really good obscure one that I think we're going to get into, but I'll tell you more about it, like, after the show, because, like, I don't want to spoil it for the audience.
Yeah, absolutely.
But yeah, outside of that, I haven't had any actual UFO encounters myself, and I'm pretty glad, because anytime anyone actually has, like, genuine UFO encounters and, like, comes clean with it and, like, shares their story, their life just gets fucking ruined, like, instantly. Everyone thinks that you're nuts. No one gives you money just for saying that aliens are real, and I have a little bit of circumstantial evidence to that fact. Like, no one actually gives enough of a fucking, like, it's kind of like the opposite of hauntings in just that regard, where it's like hauntings you can get, like Amityville,
Yeah.
Like, they had their lives somewhat ruined by it, but the royalties that they be making, though, is, like, crazy out of control.
Oh, yeah. Like,
versus, like, alien people, they're just like, now my wife doesn't talk to me anymore, and this is where I live now. It's an RV.
The only place they can be heard is on
My
the History Channel.
Winnebago is the only thing that I have in my life anymore because my dog died 2 weeks ago. Turns out you can't feed them just Vienna sausages.
Yeah. The only fucking platform they have is the History Channel, which is just no longer called the History Channel and should just be...
Dude, at this point it should just be like the Learning Channel.
I don't even know if I'd call
Learning
it that.
Channel 2, Electric Boogaloo.
I'd be like, you know what? We're going to change this to mostly fiction.
Mostly fiction, whatever. You'll watch it, fuck you.
Yeah. Welcome to History Channel.
The History Channel. There's hardly ever history, and when it is, it's about the fact that Hitler's still alive. Fuck you. It's like, okay.
The History Channel. For 2 hours a day, we cover World War II, and then for the rest of the time, ancient aliens.
No, what they should do is name it the Dad Channel, because that's what it is now. It's like, History Channel is just the channel for dads. And that's why I really fucking love the History Channel. Although I can't stand like Ice Road Truckers and that kind of shit.
Which is not history. So
Pawn Stars occasionally. It depends on whether or not I'm really baked.
God, you never know what's gonna come through those doors.
I'm gonna fucking strangle you. All right. So with that, I think we can. I think we can wrap up because I've threatened homicide. So that's usually a good indicator of.
Yeah, I think that's a great indicator of where, we should end.
We should end
this has
on that
been
positive note.
Yeah. This has been Jay or Zesmerel, however you want to call it.
Zesmerel, you ostentatious fucker. As
Stroking
always,
your superiority complex.
I'm your host with the most, Nick, and we do, before we leave, we have to give some shout-outs to some peeps, because we do actually have some Patreon contributors, and you can also go ahead and help out the show. And all of our little fun goings-on by contributing to the Patreon at patreon.com/Temple of the Cynic. And it looks like we got some patrons here. Drum roll, please. Yeah. If I can figure out how to do this, I didn't set it up correctly.
It's possible the host and co-host are mentally disabled.
Oh, very, very possible. And for this month, we got starting with John. Hey, I'm starting the thing.
You gotta fucking.
Okay.
Right.
Starting with John Bainan. Thanks a lot, my man. That's a very Irish name, and I'm afraid to pronounce it.
What are we looking at here?
I want to say it's Eowyn. I believe that's Eowyn, correct?
Eowyn or Ewan O'Mahony?
O'Mahony. I know O'Mahony. Thank you, Irish person. You're really fucking awesome.
You're
and
dope
I guarantee
as balls.
I know this person too, and they're gonna yell at me in a PM, so that's gonna be fun. We also have Lawrence Fish. That's pretty cool. Very close to Albert Fish.
Yeah.
I like that.
Maybe related.
Maybe. Let's not make aspersions about our Patreon contributors. We love you.
Yeah, we do.
We're not saying that you're serial killers, but if you are, stop it. Get some help.
Don't stop the Patreon. Just
don't stop the Patreon, but do stop the murder.
I mean, just live your best life.
Yeah. Oh, also, I wanted to add, we might get into some true crime at some point. That might be fun.
I fucking love true crime.
Anywho, we also have John Midgley. Thank you very much, John. Michael Bartolone. Very nice last name, Michael. Thank you for your contributions. Howard Polikoff. Thank you, Howard. And Brett Smith as well. And all of those are our $5 patrons. So you guys get credits at the end of every single episode. So give yourselves a pat on the back. And without your guys' contributions, we don't have anywhere to go but,
dumpsters.
Down. Yeah. So, I'm not gonna... I know, Jay's stance, I'm slowly getting him over to it, but, I'm not gonna put any ads on any of our videos, because I'd rather it just, come from the fans. I know, He's jerking himself off right now.
All right. Well, maybe a little bit, but that has nothing to do with the content.
Yeah, no. We definitely want to just do it to where it's just based off of you guys, and we really appreciate the help. That all goes towards like my internet, so that way we can keep doing this stuff. So.
And I mean, really, you guys are the reason we put it out in the first place.
Oh, absolutely. Like, without an audience, there's no real point. So we really appreciate it. You guys are freaking awesome for already contributing. Like, that's really fucking cool. And we look forward to putting one out. Is it next week we're doing our next one?
I think next week's
we're gonna have a little break, but I might do something that's just me, where I'm sitting here, just goofing, just glassing.
Yeah, depending on like schedule shifts and whatnot, we may, I may be able to come in and shoot something earlier and or just record a message.
We'll make sure that we at least have one upload a week. You typically are probably looking at, what we agree on, like Saturdays by like 9 p.m. EST?
Yeah.
Or actually, I guess 10 p.m. EST.
Yeah, we're going to try and hit that time.
Okay,
but at least on Saturdays.
Yeah, from 10 to 10:30 EST, so Eastern Standard, on every Saturday. So that's when you can look forward to the next one, and our next one will be far more structured. It's not always going to be off the top. We just kind of wanted to like go over what we have planned and what we want to do. And since there's not a whole lot of you in the live chat, like no Q&A for today, but
yeah,
we'll do one later for sure.
Also, if you're watching this and it's still relatively new, if you want to contribute any art or anything, hit us up.
We are desperately looking for an artist that can kind of help with, what we got going on. Because right now I'm just using, like, basic images. Because we did not have the Wi-Fi for, like, actually going ahead and doing video. But I'm working on it, so slowly but surely, tech guy will prevail.
We'll figure it out.
We'll do it. Anywho. I love all of you. Thank you so much for helping. And remember, hail the temple.
Of the Cynic.
Yeah, of the Cynic. There you go. Alright, peace out, folks. We love you guys. Bye.
Bye.